So
Mhm.
shall I can I share my screen? Let me just do that. Let's see.
Now I check it. Yeah, you can share your screen.
Okay, if I can find my presentation.
Oh,
It's very, here we go.
just
It's very
show us
it's
one
very low.
another.
It's very low tech. My apologies. It's very low tech.
Wow, it's
So nothing fancy.
simple,
Just covers.
stylish design.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Laconic,
Yes.
it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. So, well, first of all, again, thank you for inviting me to come along and join one of your group chats. I appreciate it. And obviously, as fellow professionals, we're all in the same industry. We all have the same objectives. And if I can, offer some insight to from my experience and background, I'm super happy to share that in the context of our mutual progressive professionalism in the industry. So Andre, you WhatsApp me some questions, so I just put those down first, and I'll just go straight in. If I'm talking too fast, or anyone wants to repeat anything, or anyone has any questions at any time, please just shout, Roy, say that again. I didn't hear you. Speak slower,
No, no.
or you can't understand my accent, whatever is absolutely fine. No worries at all. I've got no time pressure, so just if you guys can get some good value from the next hour or so, that's absolutely fine for me. Okay.
Yeah, the temp is quite fine.
Okay, very good, very good. So the first question was asked was specifically about finding new clients, which is, of course, the most important and possibly the most difficult thing for our industry, because as a financial advisor, what I've often found is there's almost nobody that I meet that I couldn't help. I could help almost everyone that I meet. The question is finding people who are interested in sitting down with you, finding people who want to do business with you, finding people at the right time that they're interested, the right point in their life, finding somebody who doesn't already have a financial advisor, all sorts of different things. But actually getting to meet interested prospects is the most difficult and most important part of what we do. And I would say one of the things that has always worked for me is to scale up my prospecting process to meet the volume of business that I can handle. So I'm quite relaxed here in Dubai. I cover the rest of the Middle East, and I have clients in Southeast Asia. But when I was in Singapore and I was there for 7 years, life was very much more busy. Singapore is like a very closed space, a lot of people ready to do business. At the time that I was there were a lot of interest in financial advisory products and services. So I scaled up my personal operation to really give me literally a never-ending pipeline of interested people who wanted to meet me, sit down with me, do some proper financial planning, hear about the products available to them, and ultimately sign up. So at that time, for many years in Singapore, there was a team of us, if you like. There was myself as principal advisor. Then I had a personal assistant, a local Singaporean lady called Laura, who was with me for over 6 years. Then I had what we call a client servicing advisor. And a client servicing advisor, he was a fully qualified financial advisor. I actually helped train him and bring him up. But his job was to help with a lot of the a lot of the client servicing for existing clients, so that released a lot more of my time to do the sales side of the organization. Because if you're spending all of your time servicing clients, you don't have enough time, with the prospecting, meeting people, networking, all of that kind of stuff. And then I had 3 business development staff. So I had 3 guys working in my office who were basically researching. LinkedIn has been a fabulous tool for a long time, finding prospects, getting the numbers, cold calling them or contacting them through LinkedIn, asking them if they're interested, and then arranging appointments. Those guys, their job was to keep me busy. Their job was to make sure that I was having 2-3 meetings a day, meeting people, sometimes people didn't show up, or sometimes they're the wrong kind of prospect or whatever. But those guys, paid them a basic salary, but they were incentivized for me to meet people, and it worked very well. It worked extremely well. So I was super busy at the pointy end, the sales side of my process, if you like. And then my client servicing advisor, an American guy called Alan, he did a lot of the client servicing side, so that released more time. And Laura managed my diary, so you can imagine, how busy it was. And it took me about a year to get that team together. I arrived in Singapore in 2011, so 2012 was my first full year in the country. But by 2013, I was president of the Chairman's Roundtable for our organization. We had 300 advisors, and I was already top of the leaderboard after only 1 full year in the business. So I'm not saying that the formula would work again, or that I'd even want to do it again. I'm 10 years older. I don't have quite the same energy, that I had back then. But the important thing is to understand that sales isn't just a numbers game; it's a time game. It's how much time have I got to commit to the prospecting part of my business, because that's the most important. And getting the balance right is desperately important, because I've seen, sometimes I fall victim to it myself. But what I often see is advisors who are really good advisors. They're really good, but they're absolutely rubbish at the prospecting side, and their business just gets slower and slower and slower because they're not meeting new people. Any excuse to not get out and find new people, they'll use. Oh, I just have to do this portfolio. I just have to do this for this person. I just have to do that person. And a week can go by and they haven't even picked up the phone to do any prospecting, or emailed any prospects, or done any networking, whatever. That's the kiss of death. And as advisors, we need to manage our time, properly, and scale accordingly. So now here that I'm based in Dubai, there's just me, my PA, who helps me with managing my diary, appointment setting, all of that kind of stuff. And I have 1 data researcher, and the data researcher is a guy. I actually employ him, but he's based in India, and he's on LinkedIn most of the time, finding prospects that meet my criteria, and getting the mobile telephone numbers for those prospects if we need them, whatever. So his job is to do what is the most time-consuming part of prospecting, which is, even before you approach people, who am I going to approach? There's millions of people. How do I find, what's my specification? Here's my person spec. Give it to the data researcher. Pay him some money and say, each month I need 500 prospects, or whatever it is. So again, it's maximizing my time to make the prospecting, make the sales, the pointy end of the process as efficient as possible. I'll shut up. Any questions about that slide before I go into a bit more detail?
Your main instrument is cold calling to prospect.
Right. Now, interesting you say that. So back in the day, 100% of my business was cold calling, apart from a few referrals. 100%. And I used to do a lot myself. And actually, you know, what I find is in this business, you can't be successful if you're frightened of the telephone. If you're scared to pick up the phone and call somebody at random, you know, then you're not going to survive in this industry. You need, and what I used to tell my BDMs, my business development guys, if somebody hasn't told you to F off at least once a day, you're not making enough calls.
And how many hours at week you spend to your job now? How many hours?
Yeah. Okay. So right now I'm in. We'll come to it the way I'm revectoring my business. But at the moment, right now, I'm spending more just for the last month. I'm spending more than 50% of my time on some new sales campaigns, which I'm going to be launching in the next few weeks. So it's a lot of background preparation, but more than 50%. And in a way, I'm lucky in that my client base are quite calm and relaxed at the moment, which is another one of the other points on your agenda. So it means that I'm taking time out, but I am working 7 days a week and evenings to get everything done. So I'm behind schedule. I was hoping for a launch yesterday, the last day of February, but I think maybe next week one of my online avenues to market I'll be launching soon. But that's a great question, because let me go straight to the next point, because what we see now is that in today's world, people are much less receptive to cold calls. In many respects, they're not. You know, 10 years ago, you know, a cold call is basically just a business introduction from somebody you haven't met yet. But now cold calls are a pain in the neck for many people. Now, in somewhere like Singapore, there's actually what they call a DNC database that's run by the government. So you can go online, register your mobile phone with the government, and if anyone calls you to pitch you for business, there's a 10,000 Sing dollar fine. Now, they don't have anything. Literally, it's called DNC. So it's a great service, and it means that you don't get pestered on the phone. There's nothing like that in most other countries. So here, I mean, even me, I get random cold calls all the time. If the number isn't in my phone, I don't answer it. It's just like there's no point. So the cold calling method of getting an introduction with somebody is it's much less powerful than it was, over the last few years, because more and more there are other avenues of making professional connections, and obviously LinkedIn is the big one. I don't know how popular LinkedIn is with you guys, but it's absolutely my bread and butter. Yeah, I couldn't run my business now without LinkedIn. And I remember the days when there was no LinkedIn. You know, when I started out and I had a meeting at a client company, during the meeting, I would make an excuse and say, "Oh, I need to go to the toilet," and I walk down the corridor and I'd be writing down the names of people on the doors, you know, as I go, so I can call the office. Or when you visit a building and you have to sign in on the guest book, I take a photograph of the sign-in page so I get the names and telephone numbers of other people who visited the building, you know, in that week or whatever. All of those. Or here's a really great one. I don't know if this works for you, but a lot of big companies, their telephone numbers are in blocks. So it'll be like 0500 9 001, 0500 9002, 9003, because everyone's got 3-digit extension numbers. Yeah, so what you do, but if you call somebody and there's no answer, it goes to voicemail, and the voicemail says, "Oh, this is John Smith. Sorry to miss you." So what you do, you wait for a national holiday, wait for a public holiday when you know no one is going to pick up the phone. You get your notepad, and then you just call 9001, 9002, 93, because then you've reached the voicemail of John Smith. So you write down 9002 John Smith. And you're the next one. You've reached the voicemail of Maggie Smith. You write down that 9 extension of Maggie Smith. So when everyone comes back to work, you've really got a notepad of names and numbers that you can direct dial straight into.
It's so old-fashioned in good way.
Yeah.
But
Old
a
school,
lot of
Derek, old
work.
school.
It's a really difficult job.
It is. It is. So you have to have the right mentality for that kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, drinking a few glasses of whiskey while you spend your time doing that, Andre, it makes it go a lot better. Okay.
There
So-
you hear this? I think we should try.
Yeah. So everything is online now. So LinkedIn is desperately important because now the internet, the web, is part of people's decision-making processes, is part of people's introductory process. So your LinkedIn profile is now part of your pitch, because if you connect to somebody on LinkedIn and you request, the first thing they're going to do is look at your profile and see, what's this about? You know, what is it? And you know, if you've got a good profile and you've got a good background, it looks professional, you know, then they're going to give you the time of the day. At least they'll connect with you to see what it's all about.
And what do you think about Facebook? It's more popular in Russia than LinkedIn, and
Right. Okay.
also we also enough popular in Instagram, Russian accounts, and in Telegram, but it's not about profile. It's about text and video and some information. For you, it works in Facebook, for example, or Facebook only for kittens.
So I actually, although I have a Facebook page, I only log in maybe once a year. I don't even have Facebook on my phone. I've never done Instagram. I've never done TikTok. I'm not interested in all of those because those are they're not professional. Okay, they might be a great way to build your circle of friends, and they might be a good way to advertise if you've got a channel that doesn't have your face on, that you're selling something specific. But I would never, ever advertise myself on any of those, or even try to make a professional contact through those channels, just because. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. What's important is what is congruous with your personality. So my personality, I'm a late 50s financial advisor. I'm British. I'm a bit boring. You know, I'm not going to be like posting kitten videos or whatever on my website, you know, on my profile page. But if somebody visits my LinkedIn, they'll say, oh yeah, this guy, yeah, he's got this award, he was best advisor in Singapore, he's got these referrals. So they say, okay, I don't know what it's all about, but I'll accept his invite. You know, so it's the difference between something that's designed to be strictly professional versus other things. So again, I don't know how popular LinkedIn is, you know, in your environment, but I would definitely suggest that over the years to come, it will get more and more and more important, and the early adopters are the ones that are going to dominate, you know, the technique, because LinkedIn is a professional networking organization, whereas everything else is just it's just for kitten videos. Not that I've got anything against kitten videos.
Yeah, very fine. Actually, LinkedIn is blocked in Russia, but we can use it through VPN.
Yes, VPN. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not very many profiles of Russians in LinkedIn, and I
Right.
think, but I think it's a good idea because all profiles in LinkedIn in Russia, it's profiles of good professional, wealthy people, and so
Yes.
on.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah. So think about it. It's a professional network. It's the modern day equivalent of going to the club or a business network or whatever. It just happens to be online. So if somebody's gone to the trouble of joining LinkedIn, they're doing it because they want to network themselves. And it's business people and the wealthy that want to go through it, that are prepared to put a VPN in place so they can connect. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you can ask, like I did my MBA at Imperial College, does that mean, and a lot of people who do an MBA at Imperial College are extremely successful. Is that because the MBA is good, or is it just because they network really well with everyone else who went to Imperial College? Who knows? So getting a profile and link on LinkedIn in the early stages, I think, will benefit. Or if you know some software developers, make your own for the Russian environment. You never know.
We have an attempt. It's
Yeah.
called Steam Chat, but it's
Right.
just a starting stage.
Yeah, it's a first stage.
Right.
I
Okay.
can say
Okay.
it's stage 0.
Yeah. Okay. So early stage,
Yeah.
still in gestation. The other thing that about LinkedIn is because everyone does business over Zoom now, and you can make phone calls and have a Zoom conversation. Why should I be restricted to clients in my area? So 10 days ago, I had several days in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. I got a couple of clients there, but I actually didn't catch up with them. I used LinkedIn, connected to some people, and arranged in 3 days. I arranged 3 appointments with brand new people who accepted a LinkedIn. I gave them a pitch and they said, "Yeah, Roy, come and see me in my office, whatever." And 2 of them are definitely going to do business. And I made those appointments completely, not even speaking to them on the phone. Connect on LinkedIn, message, get their number on WhatsApp, and then that's it. I met one of the guys who's a senior level guy with in a government organization there, just connecting on LinkedIn. Now, that's the kind of thing. Now I'm going to be in Thailand at the end of this month. Going to be there for a little while. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Use LinkedIn, find some people who meet my criteria, and connect to them. Say, John, Roy here. I'm going to, just to let you know, I'm going to be in Bangkok. At the end of March. Don't know if you fancy catching up for a cup of coffee and a chat. I can tell you a little bit about the services that I provide for my other clients in Thailand. Maybe if you hear something, you might hear something that you like. Just make it very casual, not salesy, not pushy. And if people are interested, because they've seen your profile, so they know what you do. And if people are interested, and say, okay, all right, yeah, I'll meet you. Yeah, 10 come to my office, 10 o'clock, we'll have a chat. So LinkedIn is for me is a professional network that I couldn't do without. Okay, so moving on, the offline networking. I know the old school, the business groups, socializing, networking, whatever. Some people are really good at that. Not me. I don't like socializing. Yeah, I'm absolutely bloody useless at it. I just, I'm good when I've had a few whiskeys, but then I'm no good about thinking about business. So the two are mutually incompatible, basically.
But
So,
also some our members of our association, I think months ago, we talking about how to attract clients, how to find new clients, and so they tell us social networking and business clubs is still working very good.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I have the skill set. I just prefer not to do that for me personally. Partly, I guess, because I work extremely long hours, so I can never get myself in the right mindset for networking. If I do have time, I'd rather just relax and vegetate and do nothing. And then another one is, of course, referrals. In our industry, referrals are a very, very important source of new business. Over the years, I've got some really great referrals. I've been through phases where I say to myself, right, I need to be very disciplined. I need to make sure I ask for referrals. But in the end, what happens is I kind of forget, or, I'm not very good on that sort of like blunt, in your face, I need some referrals, John, that kind of thing. I'm not really good at that, especially in the early stages of a relationship. But I am really good at my job, and I get referrals without asking for them. So over the years, I've acquired some fabulous clients, and I've got clients who regularly give me referrals, and I've never asked for them. But what I do is somebody unexpectedly gives me a referral and it turns out to be a good piece of business. What I might do is give a gift to the person who gave me that referral, maybe a voucher for a nice dinner for two, at a nice restaurant.
Gift is not linked with your services. It's not free consultation. It's just a gift for people pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say I've got a client. He's been with me for a couple of years. He's quite happy. One day he's talking to one of his colleagues and he says, "Oh, I've got a financial advisor. You should speak to him." He gives my contact. Maybe the guy just WhatsApped me out of the blue, and we meet and there's some business comes back. Then I'll go back to the original client who referred me and say, "John, just wanted to let you know, thanks again for that referral with Simon. He's put something in place with me, and here's a little present." And I don't know if you can do it where you are, but here you can go online. You can pay in advance for a dinner for two, or an afternoon in a private club by the beach or something like that. And you send it to him, and it's like 1,000 dirhams, which is what, $300. He's not expecting it, but he just like gets it out of the blue. And my God, this is really good. And you get more.
Yeah.
And you never even ask for them. But I never, if people do that, then that's great. But I'm just lucky enough. If you do the job well enough, and you build up relationships with your clients, you get referrals. I'll be honest, I should be better at asking for them. I'm just not. Some things I'm good at, some things I'm not. Okay, and now moving on is the online marketing. Okay, so I have never done, personally, I've never done any of the online marketing side of stuff. And I'm talking about Facebook ads, Google advertising, bulk emailing, all of that kind of stuff. I've never done any of that. But what's what I'm extremely aware of now is that the market has changing. There's a new generation, particularly with information that's available about investing products and all of that kind of stuff, and the financial comparison sites and robo advice or whatever. There's so much noise out there, that first of all you have to be in it. You have to be in that game. But also the nature of our business, some of the things that we do has become a lot more, it's almost like a product. So if you try to advertise financial advice, it's really difficult. How do you put a Facebook ad for financial advice? But you can put an advert for 5-year savings plan, or an advert for invest 100,000, or an advert actually for something simple, life insurance and critical illness. I don't know if you guys do insurance. It's becoming more important in my business. Now, life insurance, it's like, it's like food. You don't have to explain to people what it is. It's very binary. If you're alive, that's fine. If you die, it pays out. That there isn't anything. There is a very easy to understand product. So if I'm scrolling through my kitten videos and I see a post that says, cost-effective life insurance for expats in GCC, no medical required. Click here for details. You know, and I don't have it, and I might just click and see what's all about. Whereas if I saw an advert for financial advice, and oh, no, another one of those financial advisors, scroll past, the nature of the message to the market is different if we're going through the online channels. But there's also a benefit, because if I'm in the market for life insurance, I go to Google, what do I type? Life insurance in Dubai. You know, so if I'm paying for a Google ad and I get a hit, I know that that person is actually interested in life insurance in Dubai. So it's a different kind of channel. I've got a few little projects that I'm working on in the background to start to get into this, because remember what we were saying about scaling up our prospecting thing. If we get it right online, it's possible to scale up without having to employ 5 other people to do that for you. That's my ultimate objective, and to be able to do this job from the beach in Thailand, of course. Okay, moving on. So this is just something, I don't know whether it's interesting or not. These are some of the tools that I use, just the technical tools. So Blogspot, you obviously you're aware of Blogspot or Blogger. It's a free website. It's been around for 15 years, I think, from Google, where you can write a blog. But my website, you know, roywalkerwealth.com, I don't pay anything for it. It's free, because it uses blog. It's based on Blogger. So I designed the template, and I obviously write my own material, you know, whenever I can get around to it. But what it does is, if somebody visits Roy Walker Wealth, they see a professional website. They can read about my services. They can read about read my articles, and my articles are written in my voice, so they get a flavour for what it's like to do business with me. Maybe they like my sense of humour, maybe they don't, you know. But it makes it human. But the great thing for me is that it's free. So I've had that for years, and I don't pay anything for it. One thing, a top tip everyone does, if you do your own websites, and I strongly recommend having your own website, put in web security, because I did have a site a couple of years ago that got hacked, and somebody was putting some malicious code in the background. They were using my website to send out emails, and when Google finds out, they block it, and they block it for weeks or months. So it's one of my websites. If I go to Google Chrome now, and to Chrome, and go to that website, it's still red. It's blocked. There's malicious data on there, even though I've already cleared it, you know, months ago. You know, so Cloudflare, which is a web security thing, it forces HTTPS security on the website. It's completely free, easy to do. If you don't know how to do it, get whoever does your website to do it. But it's absolutely essential. Not because I don't want my website hacked, but because I can't afford to have my website down for 3 months while I fix it, and then Google finally get around to realizing that it's fixed. MailChimp, there are loads of email services out there. I happen to use MailChimp. Is one of the big ones. It's quite an easy interface. It costs me some money each month. But actually, more than communicating with prospects, so I've got a mailing list, and there are prospects in there, but I also use it to communicate with existing clients, and some kind of periodic communication with clients, even if they don't need it, is nice. They like to know that you're still alive. Okay, Zoho CRM. I don't know if you've heard of Zoho.
No, I never hear about it, but I think many of our guys can see it. It's free.
Yeah. So I think there's an entry level version, but I pay for it because I pay for 2 users, one for myself or one for my data researcher. So it's a great way to track opportunities, for him to collect information about the LinkedIn URLs, and when he adds a profile on LinkedIn, he can say what's the nationality, where are they living, you know, what company is he working for, and the LinkedIn URL. So then I can log in, say, oh, that one looks good, click, and then I'm through on the profile. And when he finds the guy's telephone number, then he can put that in as well. So it's a really great way. If we want to scale up, we need some kind of way of managing our activity, and a CRM, a customer relationship management program, is the way to do it. Again, there are millions of different types. Zoho is the one that I happen to use. Okay, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Again, I don't know if it's available in Russia, but Sales Navigator is a premium service. You pay for it. I can't remember how much I pay. I think it's maybe $60 a month, something like that. I can't remember. But basically, it's an extra service that allows you to do detailed searches on LinkedIn to find exactly the type of prospect that you're looking for. Again, it's not for everyone. You know, some people don't need it, but I would suggest in our industry, for me especially, it's like gold dust. It's such a useful facility. Are we still okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Good. Lusha, Lusha, is absolutely fabulous. Again, you can find all of these just by Googling Lusha. What it is, it's a Chrome extension, so that when you're on the LinkedIn page and you're looking at a profile on LinkedIn, a little icon pops up in the right-hand side, and it will tell you whether it's got the email address and telephone number of the person that you're looking at. It's brilliant. It's really great. And often it'll have the email address or a work email address, because a lot of people use their work email addresses on LinkedIn. And very often it'll have you know, maybe 2 out of 10, it will have a live telephone number for the guy that you're just randomly looking at his profile on LinkedIn. It costs you have to buy credits, but the great thing is you only use that credit if you're looking at a profile that you actually want the telephone number of. So if you still believe and still using, you know, the cold calling technique, it's a really great way of finding telephone numbers. Oops. And then Cloud Talk is just an internet voice. It's a voice over IP service. So my data researcher, if he wants to make calls in you know, in this part of the world, he can make those calls, and the telephone number appearing, you know, from here looks like it's in the UAE or looks like it's in the UK. So he can do some prospecting, you know, on my behalf to get the local telephone numbers of people we want to speak to. Okay. And then just a couple of other things. I don't know if you've heard about it. So on the technical side, because I was doing tools I use, on the technical side, a piece of software I love is Financial Express Analytics, but it's really for UK-based advisors. And TradingView is American, it's international, fantastic. The graphics are great, easy to clip and then put in a blog post or send to a client or something. Okay. Right, next question. I talk a lot, by the way, as you'll remember from last from last time.
We remember, but our members not remember. It's they don't
well,
don't meet us.
Their ears will be bleeding. Their ears will be bleeding. So okay, managing a large client base. Okay, this is, again, it's another very important thing, and for me the most important, I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, train your clients, educate them, train them not to bother you. Okay, and how do you do that? It's education. It's educating them, teaching them about what it is we do, what the basic rules, you know, of financial planning, of asset allocation, of portfolio, so that they're comfortable and they know that they're in safe hands. And every time markets go up and down, they're not calling you on the phone, oh, do we need to do something, you know, because there's decades of evidence that it doesn't make sense to like make quick knee-jerk reactions when the markets change. And my ideal situation, and it's almost the record that I've developed is really good, is that when there's a major market correction, nobody contacts me. They don't call me. Yeah. And I'm not joking. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Why? Number one, because we communicate appropriately anyway. And by the way, I encourage my clients to follow me on connecting me on LinkedIn, so they see my posts. Occasionally, I'll send something out on MailChimp. and I've generated a little bit of material on my website that I designed specifically to make clients calm and relaxed about the investment process, which I wrote specifically because I had some clients who were a bit nervous. So I thought, you know what, I'll generate some material. So I wrote a little. I'll show it to you actually. Yeah,
And,
so you can see.
And how often you are making those posts or MailChimp letters?
Yeah. Okay. So
It's
MailChimp
every day?
maybe once every. Oh God, no, 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 no. No. So actually, it's possible to be your own worst enemy. Because if so, some of my colleagues, they'll like send a weekly market update. That's the last thing you want to do. Never, ever, ever send a weekly market update, because then clients will think, oh, I need to pay attention to what's going in the markets this week. No, the opposite. You need to tell your clients, no, we'll check in every quarter. It's my job to keep tabs. If you need to know anything, I'll tell you. But whatever you do, stop checking your account balance all the time, your portfolio. It's exactly the reverse. Yeah, so weekly market updates, no. No.
So once in quarter?
Once a quarter. So let's just go back. So I just grabbed this from my website earlier today. So I wrote a post just because people expect it. What's going to happen in global stock markets? And if you read it, it says, I don't know, but here are some strategies, whatever. And the last post I did, that was 2.5 months earlier. Christmas Eve, is your investment manager good? And the one I did before that was 3 months before that. So this is my website. Yeah, this is my website, but I post on LinkedIn fairly regularly, and I also like and I comment and I chat because I'm connected to a lot of investment professionals on LinkedIn. Who I'm connected to some really, really smart guys. I mean, just guys with brains the size of the planet, way smarter than me. Got loads of followers. So if I make a comment and it gets some attention, then people come and request to connect to me from inside the industry. Now, why is that important? Because when you're prospecting with somebody, and they connect to you, and then they see your posts or your comments are in the feed, and they see
comments for
you
posts, especially for popular posts.
Exactly. You're connecting with economists, you're connecting with portfolio managers, you're connecting with and they think, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. So again, it gives them an element of confidence. So, but one thing.
So if it's not market update, so you are just writing some article about abstract issue or something and send your clients.
Yeah, it's always financial.
Writing just stay calm, do nothing. I will do everything for you.
No. So Andre, as you know, there's lots and lots and lots of research out there about why we shouldn't make. So, for instance, in a market dip, we don't try and time the markets, okay? Because if we try and time the markets, the markets are go down, let's sell, and then we wait till markets go. You have to get it right twice. First of all, you have to sell at the right time, and then you have to know when to come back in at the right time. So you have to be right twice. Yeah, and actually, all of the data says that the biggest market recoveries always follow, a market decline. So if you can write a nice little article about that, I mean, read some of the stuff on it. If you can, on my website or whatever, if you write a little article like that, people think, oh yeah, I get it. So in fact, this one here stopped just before you hear the bump. Okay, so it was September. So you think of September, markets were in decline. We hadn't hit the bottom yet. And we probably still haven't, but people are thinking, oh my God, markets have been going down since January. When is this going to end? What's going to happen? Should I make changes to my portfolio? Should I still get everything out? Have a look at this, hit my website and have a read of that article. It's very simple, very straightforward. But the first thing I did was I got a chart of the S&P 500 for like the last, I can't remember, the last 25 years, just a chart like that. Okay. And then it just said, okay, you're allowed every 5-year period, or every 10-year period, you're allowed to invest once in each 10-year period on that chart. So go along the chart and pick. And when are you going to invest? Are you going to invest when prices are high or when prices are low? Obviously, you're going to invest when prices are low. So, and people think, oh yeah, I get it. You know, so because if you're putting your money in now, in 10 years' time, you're going to look back and say, you know what, 2023 was absolutely the right time to put money in the market. And then they think, oh well, I'm already invested anyway, so I can go and make a cup of tea. You know, so you're trying to use facts from the financial research and psychology to make people feel comfortable that actually, you know, there is no better course of action than the one that I'm taking right now. Okay. Right. So we're talking about managing large client bases. We talked about having an associate to like do the client servicing stuff. And if absolutely necessary, if you've got the small clients that are giving you a headache and they're not giving you that much revenue, fire them. Tell them you can't look after them anymore. Depends on the type of organization, the larger organization you work with, depends whether you can do this or not. But it's the Pareto effect. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your headaches come from only 20% of your clients. Yeah. So, and if you're not getting any revenue for it, sack them. Okay. Right. So moving on.
We
Right.
heard another version that you have 80% of your profits from 20% of your clients. So why not to fire your 80% clients?
Well, it's absolutely true, Andre. So Pareto, as you know, the 80 applies to everything in life, literally everything in life, and it's amazing accurate how much it is. So I actually did this experiment when I lived and worked in the UK. I had a long drive in the mornings to the office, about an hour every day, across some country lanes, across some motorways, and then through the town. And I did some timing, and I worked out that 80% of my delay of that 1 hour was only in 20% of the spots. It's where the traffic junctions were, where the lights were, and the rest, it was smooth. And the other thing, so if I look at the carpet in my room, you know, I've got a table, I've got some chairs, I've got the TV. 80% of the wear in the carpet is only in 20% of the surface area. Yeah, so it's almost like a universal. Of course, it would be up and down a bit, but the problem is about sacking the 80% is my mid-30s executives right now in 10 years' time are going to be mid-40s company directors. Yeah, so I don't want to sack them at the wrong time. Yep. Okay. But yeah, very good point. I love the Pareto effect. Okay, so let's just, this is, you remember I mentioned a piece. If you click on this, it's like a 15-page document, easily written, easy to read, 4 rules for the calm investor. So I've learned if I've got somebody who's a bit nervous, you know, I send that to them, encourage them to read it. They say, oh yeah, I'll get it now. Okay, all right, yeah, good. So, you know, have a look at that. It's strongly recommended. Okay, so your next question on your agenda, Andre, was popular products and services, probably similar to stuff that you've got. Obviously, the unit-linked stuff, so the regular savings plans, the portfolio bonds or the investment bonds, you know, it's kind of like the bread and butter, especially in the international market. Increasingly, we're starting to see the non-wrapped. So just the investment platforms like Morningstar and those kind of things where, you know, it's just an account, it's just a trading account. So there's no wrapper. You put your money in, you can do it yourself, or you can get your advisor to do it.
So it's a kind of marketplace of mutual funds or something.
That sort of thing, and there are a number of different varieties of them. But you can usually, as an advisor, if I point my client in that direction, I can take an entry fee, I can take an ongoing management fee, but the client's got access to their money whenever they need. There's a good range of funds. It's transparent, and there are some good ones. There's a good one here available in the UAE. clients can save, can put money, send money in Emirati dirhams, but convert it to US dollars, whatever, inside the platform.
So if you send your client to Morningstar platform, you will still have your commission.
Yes. So what we do. So there's a company called Premium, Praemium, that was been acquired by Morningstar, and they've created a platform specifically for advisors to be able to look after clients' portfolios and take a management fee. So what happens? You're speaking to the client. They say, you know what, Roy, I'm only investing for 2-3 years. I don't really want to lock in. I might need my money back. Say, okay, a platform is fine. Standard charge is 3% on the way in, 1% per annum on assets under management. If you need your money out, then you can do that. So it's they don't always have the same range of investments that you might have in one of the high-end investment bonds where you can access everything. But a good platform, it's cheap and cheerful. All of the ETFs, a lot of the investment funds, the unit trusts, mutual funds, that kind of stuff, and they serve a purpose. And sometimes clients want to go with this kind of platform because they don't want their money locked in, but then they stay with it for years. They just, they just like the idea of being able to access their money, whenever they want.
But it's your commission from your clients, not from mutual fund companies.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. So good point. Some advisors will take a commission from selling a mutual fund. They might take an upfront commission. Maybe there's a bit of a lock-in. Maybe in the old days it used to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the or maybe there's an exit penalty. So I haven't personally, I haven't done that more than 15 years since I've either taken an upfront commission on a fund or any kind of trail commission from a fund either. I'm completely 100% transparent, and I say to the client, that 3% on the way in and that 1% or annual management fee, that's my job. I get paid for looking after you the best way I can, using practices that have been proved by the research to work. My only interest is to do the very best job I can for you. It's not for selling you funds. It's not for encouraging you to sell one and buy another one because it puts money in my pocket. And that's the way. Again, it depends on where you are in the market, but that is the way that the world is going. That's so it's better to be in with them and get. And again, what it does do, of course, it makes our job as much about acquiring AUM, assets under management, as it is about anything else. Because if I go through a period of time where I'm not acquiring clients, I've got my recurring management fee coming in, to pay the bills and whatever during that period of time. Okay. Okay, discretionary fund management. So I have partnerships with some of the larger asset management companies in the UK. So if I've got a client with $1 million or whatever, or a couple of $1 million, or more, I have the option of introducing them to the DFM, and there they'll have a discretionary team of people. They charge some money for it. I might charge less, but then I don't have to worry about it day to day. They'll have all the facilities to send out reports. If the client wants a face-to-face meeting or a Zoom meeting to walk through his portfolio strategy, then there's a team of people there ready to do it. So it's a great way of, again, de-stressing the process. Personally, although they're popular, and in fact, I've got a client going into one right now, $2 million going into DFM out of the UK. Most DFMs, they add value in terms of the fact that they make the client feel all warm and cozy. That there's some really smart people looking after their money, but actually, very often they don't really deliver in terms of performance. They don't really deliver that much, over and above just a well-built portfolio using low-cost ETFs.
Don't you afraid
But
to lose your client for that fund management company? It will
lose them?
become
No,
their
no.
client, not yours.
Yeah, no, it's a commercial relationship. So typically what you might do is you've got an investment bond, you know, the client, you put the client in the investment bond, and then inside the bond you can allocate some funds to the DFM. Yeah. But anyway, it's a commercial arrangement. So no, I
So
yeah.
they
And
can't take
they
your
wouldn't be
client.
able to steal. No. So commercially, they're not able to, and also, you know, I'm part of a larger organization here. You know, they wouldn't want to upset for the sake of taking one client. You know, that's absolutely not what they're interested in. And anyway, my clients would have none of it. My clients, if they said, "Oh, come over to me," my clients would be straight on the phone. Roy, you know, did you hear what these guys said? You know, so my clients are very loyal to me. So yeah. So pension transfers, I'm guessing this kind of business doesn't exist, you know, with you. So there are pension rules, so clients can have pensions when they move overseas. There are different things that they can do with their pension to get more control of their money. And what that does is it creates a lump sum client in the process. So again, it's probably not relevant, you know, for
Yeah, I've
your
heard
market.
that the same thing is in Switzerland, but it's not in Russia.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is, with business, with companies, if I'm employed in the old days, if I'm employed in the UK, companies would put some money into a pension fund for me for what they call a final salary or a defined benefit. So when I retire, I get a guaranteed income of a certain percentage of my final salary the day that I retire. So there's not actual money there, it's an obligation on the company. But what's been happening is the UK rules back in 2006, they said that if you leave the country, you're allowed to require your employer to actually give you cash, to come up with a value for that and give you cash instead of a future income stream. And that's the basis of it.
But only when you leave country, yeah?
Yes, at the time it was only, I think anyone can do it now, and in fact, over recent years there's been huge, I mean, billions of pounds have come out of corporate pension schemes and gone into sort of traditional assets under management of financial advisors. And part of the reason is the companies themselves, because if you think, if I'm a company and I've got, you know, the years go by, my future obligation to fund the retirement of all my former workers, that obligation gets higher and higher and higher. So a lot of companies cancelled that type of pension scheme and then basically paid those people, you know, they gave them incentive to convert.
Just take money and go away.
Exactly. You got it. Absolutely. And of course, the financial advisors are there to help that process go smoothly. Insurance. So this is a big area. I've always done insurance, and I took all my insurance exams when I was in Singapore, and in fact here with my previous firm although I don't put it on my website, I was actually general manager of a UAE IA insurance authority firm here in the UAE. I resigned from that position a couple of years ago. But I'm a big believer in insurance, and we were talking earlier about insurance is a product. Yeah, of course, a good advisor, you'll give advice. Is it the right thing? These are the different types. How do you calculate how much coverage you need? You know, how do you choose which options? But ultimately, people understand insurance. I insure my house, I insure my car, I insure my dog, you know, so, you know, I understand it. So, but the great thing about insurance is that from a client maintenance point of view, if there's a market dip, your insurance client isn't on the phone to you worrying about the market dip, and you don't need to have quarterly reviews with your insurance clients. You know, John, just checking you're still alive. Yeah, rightio. So in insurance, you can build a good book of insurance, and it's a great way to make those first introductions to prospects, because they might get hammered by other financial advisors trying to sell them this and that. But insurance is a bit boring. It's a bit, but it's a good way to build trust. And once you've got a client, even just for insurance, the next time he's in the market for something, you're his guy. When he's ready to do that retirement plan or ready to do the investment, the first person he thinks, oh, that Roy Walker who sold us that insurance plan 2 years ago, I'll give him a call. So it's a great way of getting in there. Other elements that I do, property. Don't do a lot of it, but I've got roots to relationships with providers that sell mostly UK property. Some fixed income corporate loan notes. So sorry, Andrew, you've been asking a question?
It's real estate or what?
Real estate.
Real estate.
Absolutely. Houses and apartments mostly. Generally speaking, apartments. Yeah. They may be new build, they may be conversions from an old factory building in a city centre, something like that.
But property, it's just a real estate for living, not for business. Yeah.
Correct. Sometimes with some of the developers we deal with, they do commercial property. I'm not no expert on that. I don't know anything about it, but I do know about how to choose, a good apartment in a good building in a good part of town, in a town that's up and coming. And if we have a client, sometimes you've got a client, they've got the savings plan, they've got the platform, they've got a bit of extra cash, and you just say, well, you know what, why don't you put it in property? It's money you don't need for 10 years. You're guaranteed to make money in a little while. And actually property, if somebody, especially if somebody doesn't already hold property, it's a good way of just getting onto the property ladder. We call it the real estate ladder, if you like. Especially I'm working with a British person who doesn't own property, but they're going to go back to the UK in a few years. What a great way to be linked to the movements in the property market. Fixed income corporate loan notes. So these are it's basically a bond, a corporate bond, where a company wants to borrow money for some kind of development. They come through certain channels. We've got some relationships with them. I do my own personal due diligence. The people I work with do their due diligence. But if it looks good, I don't like the really long lock-ins. So sometimes they're like 3, 4, 5 years. Don't like that. But if there's a bond that has a 2-year lock-in, it's paying 10%, and it might be interesting to some clients. So. So that's the thing.
It's not exchange market. It's not.
No, it's not open. Not open
OTC.
Market. It's direct. Yeah. It's just direct with the company. And then the last service, which people actually like, which I never charge for, is actual proper financial planning. Sit down.
It's free.
It's free.
It's free.
Wow.
The retirement plan, because sometimes people, and actually if you do a retirement plan and you look at their assets and you do an assessment of what they're holding right now and how it can be improved, by the end of that process, they've already decided they're going to do business with you. So that's it. Those are the key things that I really deal with or have dealt with over the years. Okay.
We've heard from some advisors that financial plan should not be free, because it's also service, and if you do it free, it can look like you ready to work without payment.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So generally speaking, what I will do is I'll say, you know what, John, look, in the old days, I used to this is almost my exact words. In the old days, I used to charge for doing sitting down, doing what we call a fact find, and then writing up a report and some recommendation. I used to charge for that. But honestly, right now, once we sit down, by the time we're halfway through the meeting, we'll know already whether or not we're going to be doing business together, whether or not you like what you hear. I'll have told you the products and that are available to you. You'll have an idea of what it's like. And at that stage, only if you ask me to, then will I go away and do some research write a report and come up with some options for you. Okay. And, you know, generally speaking, you know, a typical written report, John, might be 15 pages, 20 pages. I'll have a breakdown of this discussion, breakdown of your objectives, the retirement plan, recommendations on the product, and recommendations on the investments. And, you know, I'll do that on the basis that if I do come up with something that you like, and, you know, you agree that you've read it and it meets your criteria, I'll do that on the basis that we're going to put pen to paper, and I've earned the right to take you on as a client, which I hope you agree is fair enough, isn't it? You know, so what it does is we call it the gentleman's agreement. It's basically saying, look, I'm happy to do some work for you, but on the basis that if I come up with something that meets your criteria that we discuss here today, we're going to start a working relationship together. And I do have some people who say, well, you know what, I'm a bit worried about my job, so let's just leave it 6 months. And sometimes I have clients who like reach across the table, shake my hand, and say, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And then you know that your notes have turned into business, because you're going to find the right product or solution for him, and he's going to become a client.
Yes.
But you know, I kind of say, you know, what you're doing is emphasizing the fact that what you have has value. What you're going to do has value, but you don't do it for free. There's no charge for it, but you're doing it. Yeah, there's no charge for it, but you're doing it on the basis that you're going to start a business relationship. Okay. Then you asked about there was one specific question about, is there any age restrictions on unit link contracts? So I'm thinking about, you know, the regular savings plans. You know, so actually I've got several clients. You know, there's one I can think about right now, just down the road from me. He's 50. He's been with me as a client 4 years now. We started off a 5-year savings plan, putting money in. And when we started, he just got divorced. He wasn't sure where he's going to be back in the UK or he's going to be working here, but he's making good money and he just wanted somewhere to put it. 5 years is perfect. He happens to still be here. He's going to be here, you know, for a long time now. But 5 years is a great savings period, because at the end of that 5 years, the thing pays out. The guy's never been locked, you know, doesn't feel like 5 years is a restricted period. And now he's got a big chunk of money, and you can put it in a bond or an investment platform or buy a property with it or whatever. So you've created that long-term trust. But what I do, and again, this is I created this kind of modus operandi for when I talk about the unit linked to regular savings plans. We all know about AUM, assets under management, but when you think about a regular savings plan, think about this. Appropriate. Is it the right type of solution for the client? Is it right for him? Is it appropriate? Second, does the client understand? Is it understood? Because they can be very complex, and it's very easy to wash over some of the details and the products. So make sure the client understands, you know, the way that the product works. And the final thing, the M, is maintainable. Is he, because they work best if the client can stick with his savings over a long period of time. They're cheapest and they'll get the best results. But is the client in a position to make that commitment at that time? Of course, we can't predict the future, you know. And if he's like mid-30s, he's an executive and his career is in the ascendant, you know, there may be, you know, maybe it is a good time for him to do a 15-year plan or a 20-year plan or whatever. But is it, you know, is he in that position to make that kind of long-term commitment? So if we think about AUM, appropriate, understood, and maintainable, when we think about those savings plans, there's no reason not to do them as long as we tick the boxes in each of these, because they can be good products. Most clients need some form for disciplined regular savings. Of course, the cost of the product needs to be borne in mind. But you know, these are the factors that I think about when I'm doing a regular savings plan. Okay. Any questions? No. Moving on.
Guys, hello. Wake up.
Are you still with us, guys?
Right. Hold on a second. Yeah. So then you asked about product combinations.
Yep.
Were there any specific examples? Really, you know, the client's needs dictate, what products you're going to put together for them. I mentioned earlier insurance. Insurance, it can go with anything. Insurance can just go with anything. Even it's standalone, but once they got insurance, they can do anything else on top of it. And I just re-emphasize the fact.
Can I understand it as insurance? Everything new. Every people need insurance, and you can buy insurance in all cases. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm talking specifically about life insurance and critical illness insurance. So critical illness insurance, actually, for my target market, expats, is really, really important. So critical illness, as you know, if you get hit with a horrible disease, that it pays out a lump sum, and you can use that lump sum for anything else. It's not medical insurance, it's critical illness. And that's important because in the UAE, for example, under government law, statutory sick pay is only 45 days. So if you get ill, if you get something horrible, after 45 days of not showing up for work because you're sick, company can stop paying you. And there's no social security because we're not locals. In that situation, what happens? People burn through their cash resources, to like cover, or they have to go home, or whatever. So critical illness isn't just insuring yourself against an illness, it's about ensuring that if you get hit with something horrible, you're not destroying your financial resources, which are the whole reason you became an expat for in the first place. You can meet people who've been out here maybe 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe they've saved $50,000. Maybe they've saved $100,000. It only takes 3, 4 months in the hospital after a bad car accident, and you burnt through that money. And then, so you're out of hospital, you're well, but now, the last 5 years have just lost, whatever. So it's a lifestyle. It's ensuring your original objective as much as anything. Okay. Regular savings, I've got a guy, in fact, the gentleman that I mentioned earlier is doing $2 million with a discretionary fund manager. He's got a regular savings plan with me, 5-year one. He's halfway through. So regular savings you can do with anything. And the other good thing is, so the statistics, I wrote a paper in 2011 when I did some research on dollar cost averaging. We're all familiar with dollar cost averaging. You familiar with that phrase?
Dollar cost averaging, yes.
Yes. So DCA, dollar cost averaging. I'll send you my paper, Andre. You can
we even have a textbook about this.
Yeah. So mathematically, dollar cost averaging basically is a proven way of moving your funds from low risk into high risk, but minimizing the volatility. Okay, you can actually create some benefit, create some profit from a volatile market where there may not have been any if you put all your money in one go. So even clients who've got, sitting on big lump sum portfolios, if they've got a bit of money, to put something away on a regular basis, they can afford to do that and be more adventurous with that part of their asset allocation. So that's dollar cost averaging. And then again, if somebody's got, so this is just, a lump sum platform and maybe a fixed income note. Again, if you've got lump sums, you don't put everything in one platform. Maybe you do a bond, maybe you do a lump sum, maybe you do a whatever. But there isn't anything, there's no secret here. It's determined, it's dictated by the client needs. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, here's my bonus slide. As a reward for you sitting through me talking for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. So I have, over the years, I've done a lot of training. I've done a lot of coaching of financial advisors. And over the years, I've kind of distilled down some of the things that for me, I found are the big determinants of who's going to be successful and who's just going to be okay as a financial advisor. And this absolutely is probably the one most single important slide, is that as financial advisors, there are three key areas that we need to pay attention to, because financial advisors, we run a business. We're not just doing one thing, we run a business. We manage our own time, we're the sales, we're the servicing, we're customer relations, we run a business. So we need to think like business people. And we need to be experts in three areas. So the first is, of course, we're financial advisors. The first is the domain, the financial advice domain, the domain of the financial industry. Investment theory, fund knowledge, product knowledge, keeping up to date with the markets, joining the groups on LinkedIn, all of that kind of stuff. Just because, some of us may find it boring. I happen to find it fascinating. But our clients expect us to know. Our clients expect us to, have an idea. Oh, John, Roy, I heard something about, the Fed rates might raise again, or what does that mean, or why is the market, they and if you can give good answers, well, it's all about inflation. Inflation rises. Interest rates are one of the tools to combat inflation. Problem is, with interest rates rising, it hits the economy two ways. First of all, mortgage rates go up, so people feel that they've got less money in their pocket, so they spend less. But also, if interest rates go up, then corporate debt becomes more expensive, so companies are paying back more to fund their business, so their profitability reduces. So it's a double whammy. So that's why interest rate rises are really bad, and they generally hit the stock market. It doesn't take like 2-3 sentences and people think, oh yeah, okay, well, I get it. Whether they do or not, clients expect us to know this stuff.
But it's not about predicting market movements. It's
absolutely no. It's the exact opposite. In fact, if you go to my blog, Andre, and read that post that I put on, it says what's going to happen in the markets. The next line is, I don't know. and actually, I actually say that one of the ways that you can judge a financial advisor, the quality of the financial advisor, is by how comfortable he is to say, I don't know. Nobody can predict. But what I can tell you is, based on 50 years of data, given your circumstances, these are the types of strategy that generally work out well, generally work out best. So you can talk about the strategies that don't rely on trying to predict the market, because no one can predict the market. And again, that's another reason why clients don't bother to disturb you if markets are going up and down, because they know you're just going to tell them, don't be so silly.
Actually, there are a lot of clients here in Russia who are still at the stage that if you say, I don't know, that means that you are not a very good specialist in the economics.
Okay. Well, no one. There's lots of ways to handle that. One of my favorite, I don't know, you won't have heard of it. One of my favorite lines is the law of economists. I don't know if you heard of the law of economists.
No.
Okay, so it goes like this: for every economist, there is an equal and opposite economist. And that's the first law of economists. And the second law of economists is they're both wrong. Okay, so and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Now, we can have an idea, we can have a bit of an opinion, but we're never all in or all out. We might think that the chance of a surprise to the downside is more likely than a chance of a surprise to an upside. So based on our risk profile, maybe we want to reduce our equity holding, whatever, but we still don't know. We're just hedging our bets, and an advisor, and I always say, can't predict the future, and if I ever try to, just tell me to leave, because that's not our job. Yeah, if I could predict the future, I wouldn't be working with you, would I? So having a good understanding and being able to communicate some key issues in a very straightforward way to non-technical clients is really important. The next is the organizational skills. We're running a business. We're talking about streamlining our processes. We're talking about scaling up. We're talking about CRMs for managing our contacts. We're talking about time management. Is a set of skills that it doesn't matter what our industry is. It doesn't matter, you know, I could be selling motor cars, or I could be selling, you know, tickets to the Bahamas, or I could be selling, you know, whatever. It's all about organizational skills. It's the processes and procedures. It's having the templates for my documents. It's having the materials ready to send somebody. You know, it's how do I use LinkedIn? You know, it's how do I improve my. It's all of this. It's organizational skills, and they are absolutely essential, because sales is about time management. If we don't manage our time right, we don't have enough time to acquire new clients. And then the third thing is, and it's often overlooked, is the people skills. It's the actual investment and the skill set required to build good, close working relationships with our clients, both when they're existing clients, but also at that front end, the rapport side. When we first meet somebody, what is our approach? So that when somebody meets us and 15 minutes later, they're relaxed and they're thinking, you know what, I quite like this. I could see myself working with him. Yeah, because that's what we're trying to do. And if you think about, you know, the adverts, the television adverts for a BMW. Yeah, the television adverts for a BMW do not talk about how efficient the engine is. They do not talk about, you know, how great the suspension is, or this new. What they do is they show a nice car driving down a nice country road, and they see somebody sitting in really lovely leather seats, really super comfortable, you know, driving with one arm, looking at his beautiful wife, you know, and you think to yourself, you know what, I could see myself driving that car, you know. So when you meet a prospect, when you're talking to somebody, you know, in establishing that people skills is about getting that person to the point where they can visualize themselves working with you. What is it going to be like to work with this person? That means being comfortable in your own skin. It also means knowing your stuff as a financial advisor and being a bit personal, being able to share some information, having a bit of a joke, having a slip up on the language sometimes, you know, just being and if it means having a few vodkas, you know, together, then that comes with the territory, of course. So those are the people skills. I don't know, are you familiar with NLP? Have you ever heard of NLP?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a big fan of NLP, and very often I'll write and rewrite a lot of material, you know, to hit the NLP buttons. So it's amazing how just a little bit of NLP in your communication can really help things. And for me,
you learn it in some maybe courses or maybe in books. What books you like?
Yeah,
about NLP?
both. Yeah. So I actually bought a number of books over the years on NLP. I've sat through a couple of courses, but the courses haven't really been great. I've actually written my own course once in NLP, the basics. But actually, if you let me just see. I'm just going to stop the share for a second, and I'm just going to. I took a photo of my bookshelf before I've just moved. But I took before I moved, I took a photo of my bookshelf. I'm just going to show you a photo of this. I'm just going to stop the share, and then I'll come back again when I can find this thing. Hold on one second. No, it's not there. Sorry, I know everyone is...
Hey guys, you're still alive?
Yes. Right, hold on. Here we go. Right. So I'm just gonna share this. you'll enjoy this because it's a great right, share again. It's a great example of so this is my bookshelf, relatively recent photo. Okay, so it kind of looks disorganized. There's all sorts of stuff but then I categorized it. So I thought, okay, well, there's some classics. We've got Ben Graham's The Intelligent Investor. We've got Winning the Loser's Game from Ellis. Then we got some technical stuff, market timing, asset allocation. Then we got some behavioral stuff, behavioral finance, how to talk to anyone. You remember we were talking about people skills. Books on cold calling, lessons from 100,000 cold calls, the beginner's guide, idiot's guide to cold calling there. Then we've got selling skills, the 1 minute salesperson, the ultimate selling power book. What else have we got? NLP, Collins, what is that? The need to know NLP. This is a nice one, the Hypnotic Salesman, which is about NLP as well. Body language, what everybody is saying. This is a really cool book. It's written by an ex-CIA guy about techniques that FBI or CIA about.
Oh yeah, I remember this book. But maybe I can find it here.
Navarro, very, very great book. Winning Body Language, sales writing. So language communication is really, really important. Sales letters, the perfect sales letter, sales scripts that sell. So it looks like this looks like, oh, another one, networking referrals, instant referrals, networking like a pro. What else? Motivation, no excuses. What have we got here? 100 ways to motivate yourself. And that's it. So there, in a nutshell, in a bookshelf, just says all of the things that as a well-rounded financial advisor, as business owners, those are the kind of areas that we should be thinking about. As we're building our business. And that's it. I'm finished. I'm done.
Wow.
One more question. What you are working with, not working with locals in Dubai. You are working with expats, yes? But why you are living in Dubai?
Okay, so it's apart from it to be a nice place to live. I'm not as in my book, not as good as Asia. I came here, so when I left Singapore, and I was looking around. So I was 7 years in Singapore, and I was looking around for somewhere else to work because I just had a. Thank you. You're welcome. That note. Because I decided it was time to leave Singapore. I could see the way that the market was changing there, and it was just time for me to go somewhere else. The expat market is my niche, and for me, the UAE in this part of the world is in the ascendant. It's the high growth part of the market. It was back then. It certainly is right now. I mean, my trip into Riyadh in Saudi, last week, just like reinforced this is the place to be. This is where the opportunity is. It's a stable, in many ways, it's like Singapore, city works, people in the majority speak English, you can get things done, very low levels of corruption, good rule of law, it's safe on the streets. It's safe on the streets. I mean, you can do the same things here that you could do in Singapore in terms of your personal safety or even just protection of property. So there's a lot of similarities.
So it's mostly quality of life, as I understand.
Quality of life, but access to the opportunities, Andre. Yeah, because no matter, when I came out in 2018, of course, pre-COVID, never even heard of Zoom. It was all about the face-to-face. Our business was face-to-face. 5 years later, even my clients don't expect a face-to-face review anymore. It's all on Zoom. And actually, it's a more productive hour spent on Zoom because you can open up the presentation, you can talk through it,
Yeah.
and you know, it's a good use of time.
Okay, guys, do you have any questions? Asking once more time. Catherine?
Yeah, I have a little. Hi, Roy. I'm Kate.
Hiya.
I have a little tricky question. I saw the last slide. There was something about book advertising or something.
Yeah, that's because it was some slides. Let me just. Okay, so
picture for my
okay, all right.
So on.
I'll tell you what, I'll just share my screen again, and you can. So this was actually from the tail end of a something else that I did. But
and can you share with us this presentation?
Yes, I will. So you can see that now. These are 3 books. These are on my shelf there. That I say that these are fundamental to being able to call yourself a financial advisor, having read these 3 books. Yeah. That's it. You can take a screen grab of that. Okay.
Cool. Many thanks. The first one is usually one of the most popular. I mean, here in Russia, after guys, what's his name? Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's a difference between somebody who's a proper investment professional and somebody who, I don't know. Does Kiyosaki use Facebook? I kind of think he's I don't know. Anyway, for sure, Ben Graham didn't. So. Yeah. Anything else?
Alexei, you here?
I think he's gone.
I think he's
I'm
here,
sure
but in text.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, what I'll do is the slides that we just walked through. Andrea, I'll email them over to you.
Yeah.
And you know, feel free to. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put them in PowerPoint. I'll leave it as a PowerPoint, and then you can just like add a translation if you wanted to, because I left slide space on the right hand side, you know, for you to do that. Obviously, it's just this closed user group, please.
Yes, of course.
If you've got any questions at all, you know, I'm here, very happy, you know, to help fellow professionals manage the best we can in troubled times. And thank you so much for sticking with me now for an hour and a half.
Thank you very much. It's
Thank you very much. It was very interesting and inspiring, I think, for many of our guys. So
Catherine?
Yeah.
May I have you for a second, Roy?
Yeah.
One question,
Yes.
Sorry if I missed this information from the beginning, but do I understand correct? You work mostly with the products on American market, right?
No. I hardly deal with Americans at all, actually, because they are very difficult to deal with because of the product providers. So my top nationalities are British and Australian, but I deal with pretty much every other nationality, you know, whether it's, you know, every class of European. I get on well with Scandinavians, so Norwegians, Danish, Swedes, Netherlands. I've got some South American clients. Here in the region, I've got Egyptian clients. So it's really every nationality.
Okay.
And in fact, when I'm doing my
asset allocation, it is in American or in European markets or maybe somewhere else? What assets do you buy for your clients?
Yeah, so my clients are international, and they may have a home current. This is the subject of another seminar altogether.
Yeah.
I could literally. So I've done a lot of research in terms of asset allocation. I could literally talk all day on the subject of asset allocation. And I wrote a paper, released a paper on Christmas Eve. It's on my website. Have a read of it.
And we can read it, yeah?
Yeah. and I've got another one coming up in a couple of months' time. But it's absolutely fascinating. You remember me saying earlier that discretionary fund managers don't add much value?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can demonstrate that very, very easily. The research, you're familiar, you know, the mutual funds that are called multi-asset funds, where it's just one fund and it'll hold equity, it'll hold bonds, maybe some gold. So I've been looking at those for a long time, because while there's a lot of research that says for single asset classes like, you know, global small cap or North American large cap or Asia Pacific, which is a single asset class, in general, the data, and it's very available from S&P SPIVA, SPIVA, you can download, you can see, by only 90% of single asset class funds don't beat their index benchmark over time. You look at any of those, you know, only maybe 20 tops, 20% in any particular category beat their benchmark. But when you come to look at multi-asset funds, multi-asset, you know, mutual funds or ETFs, there's no data, because with multi-asset they don't compare against an index, they compare against the peer group. They compare against the peer group. There's no benchmark. Now, if you're comparing against the peer group, you know, you might be in the top quartile or the bottom quartile, but it doesn't say that the middle is the right place to. The whole thing could be rubbish. So I've actually done some research on that, and yes, the whole thing is rubbish. We can arrange this for another session, but you download that paper. I'll send you the link to it. I looked at over 4,000 funds. The data, I did a snapshot of data at the end of October. 4,000 multi-asset funds, and they were in pounds sterling, euros, Australian dollars, and US dollars. 4,400 funds. And then I benchmarked those funds' performance against the locus of an index created by one bond fund and one equity fund. And I drew the locus, and you can benchmark it. How many, over a 10-year period, how many of those 4,400 funds beat the performance of a two-fund portfolio of one bond fund, one in equity fund? 4%.
Wow.
4%. It's absolutely it's mind-blowing stuff. Absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah. So and that's because the data is available, because the performance of multi-asset funds is available. Next, I'm going after the discretionary fund management part of the industry, who are very secretive of the data, but there's an organization that makes it available called ARC. And I've actually created using two ETFs. So the MSCI World Index, the pound sterling version of it, and the Barclays Global Aggregate Bond Fund, hedged to GBP. So just those two funds. And I created with only annual rebalancing, no, just January rebalancing back to its percentage. That fund, when compared over a 10-year period against the data of the discretionary fund management industry in the UK, that fund is in the top 10% of performance, which means 90% of the DFM industry in the UK, which incidentally is 1.5 trillion pounds sterling. Basically, the DFM aren't any value. The clients will be better off with a two index. I called it a PIPS, PIPS, a passive index portfolio. Yeah, I've already got I've had some good dialogue with some industry people. But the next paper where I go after the DFM is going to be explosive stuff. I might even make a YouTube video about it.
So you use a local market with client. When you have Australian clients, you use Australian market.
Yeah, so it depends. Yeah, so no, global is where it's at. Global is where it's at. So if I'm an international investor, I want the equity part of my portfolio to represent the equity market that's available in the globe around the world. Okay, so a lot of people, what they do is they get home bias, and home bias, which is only focusing on the investments in my home country. That's the kiss of death. It's absolutely ridiculous because, like, for instance, I'm from Wales. I was born in South Wales. Okay, you know, that bit that's sticking out the left-hand side of England. Okay, if I was born in Wales and I wanted to home bias, I would say I'm only going to invest in companies that have a shop in Cardiff. You know, you don't do that. And just because I'm from Australia, and actually the Australian, if you look at the charts on that thing, the Australian multi-asset funds are the worst performers because Australian fund managers have got such a home bias to only the Australian market. Meanwhile, the rest of the global economy has gone off like a rocket. And remember, so let the market capitalization weighted index do its job. Use the MSCI World Index. That's the core. If we want to add a bit of small cap, if we want to add a bit of Asia, if we want to add a bit of, you know, technology, then we can do that. But the core should be nothing more than a market cap weighted developed market index. That's the core. That will get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the insurance contracts, do you prefer, or your clients prefer, to use the local companies or also global, like
Local, definitely. I don't yeah. So remember, I'm in the UAE, so the local contracts tend to be you know, the Islamic type things. So there are products out there that are basically the same as an insurance contract, but they're just called something different. But they're bloody expensive. It's absolutely atrocious. I met one guy who got sold one by HSBC, and the cost to them is extortionate. It's criminal, absolutely criminal. But no, in general,
it's
my clients
it can be criminal.
Yeah. Yeah. So my clients are international. We want an international product. Usually that's regulated in somewhere like the Isle of Man, those kind of places. So that we've got good rule of law, we've got good regulatory oversight. You know, and as you know, there are other product providers that have got now out of the Caymans, or, you know, Labuan or Mauritius or those kind of places. They're equally valid. Regulatory side of things is a little bit second tier compared to some locations, but the products, sometimes you work with a client and the only products you've got, you know, are from places like that. There's nothing wrong with them. I happen to like the robustness of the Isle of Man, Jersey, Guernsey, Dublin. There are some international products out of Dublin. Those kind of places where you know you're not going to get a better, well-regulated product.
What's your top three of the insurance providers? I mean, worldwide.
Okay, so I really, do you know RL360? Have you heard of RL360?
Could you spell?
R as in RL is like, originally it was Royal London. And then 360, the digits 360. And their insurance bond, which is available in two versions, as a proper insurance bond or as a capital redemption bond, is just great. It's really, really great. It's really super cost effective, and it's more cost effective than some of the platforms. For anything, if anyone's got more than $250,000 US, it's a really great product, and you can get into anything, you know, any kind of investment that you really want. Of course, they have a, you know, a team that look at requests, but and I'm probably one of the people that irritate them the most, because I'm always asking for different stuff. It's been on ESG and Islamic funds. They've put some on the list for me. But it's a really, really great product. They have a regular savings plan, which is good. It's one of the more cost-effective in the market. Certainly, you're familiar with Hansard. I guess you know Hansard.
Hansard, yeah.
Okay, so personally, I've never ever sold Hansard, and I almost never meet anyone who's got Hansard that's actually made any money. So personally, Hansard on the regular savings side of things, I'm talking about, is at the other end of the spectrum. Their bond, the Hansard investment, the insurance bond itself, the lump sum, is okay. And actually, I was on the point of using it, but when for the particular client I was looking at, I couldn't get access to some of the funds that I wanted to through their platform. But they've got straightforward 1% ongoing, easy in, easy out charging structure, which is pretty good.
ITA?
ITA, yeah, they're fine. Actually, I was at a birthday party last week, and sitting next is the UAE rep for ITA, who I happen to have known for many years. So they're
obviously you like their products.
I'm sorry?
Obviously you like and enjoy their products.
Yeah, they're good. They've got this S&P 500 thing that's linked, that's guaranteed. If you hold it for 10 years, you're guaranteed to get your money back. If you hold it for 15, you're guaranteed to get 140, which is kind of meaningless in a way, because we take equity risk because we want gains better than 1.4% or whatever it is. But their products are okay. I've had in the past, because they're still relatively new, when I first started looking at them, I did stay away, just for no other reason than it's my job to not put my clients' money in something where there might be a bit of risk when there's an alternative that has less risk. And I'd rather deal with a company that's been around for 50 years than a company that's been around, for 6, 7, 8 years. It's just as simple as that. But their products, a few years later, I'm looking at them, and actually, as I say, I'm a guy called Ian Mellows, nice guy, and the products are decent. So yeah.
Any idea if you tried Manulife? These I'm not sure.
Manulife, yeah. So you're talking about their universal life products?
Yeah.
So they have an index-linked universal life product called creatively the IUL, Index Universal Life, I think. How about that? Which I have looked at. I've never sold, but Manulife. In Singapore, obviously, universal life is quite popular. So Manulife is a decent. Obviously, it's the Canadian background, huge company. So it's kind of a decent, it's a good product. From what I can make out, it's a good product.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, very good. Right. Any more torture for anyone?
Roy, it was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Kate, I missed that. You said something?
Yeah, sorry. I was saying I really looking forward for the link on your article you mentioned before.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 minutes ago. And for the next session, because I really enjoy, the practical discussion like we had right now, like 2 minutes ago. Sorry, maybe it's too precise questions, but this is the most the meat, not flesh.
Okay, just join Roy in LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Get your VPN on board and a LinkedIn profile and set yourself up. The professional chat there. Between advisors, between economists, between asset managers, it's out of this world. There's some really, really smart people. I learn something every time I go on. It's a really, really great tool for our industry.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm off.
Yes, thank you very much, Roy. I hope we will see you again.
Pleasure. Well, thank you. As I say, thank you for inviting me. I've had a good time. I've really enjoyed it. I hope
the pleasure
you
is
have
on our
too,
side.
Roy.
It's really on our side.
Yeah. Okay. Great stuff. Great stuff. All right. Thanks. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very
evening,
much.
and
Thank you
take
so
care. All right.
much.
Yes.
Have a
Okay,
good
bye-bye
evening.
now.
Bye. Bye. Ray.
Bye.
Bye.
Так, если всем понравилось, напишите нам большое спасибо.